So you found this video somewhere on Google by searching in what are the pros and cons of living in Virginia Beach, and from someone that's lived here for over 15 years, I want to let you know that you're in the right place. We're going to go over the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's get to it. Hey, what's going on? Aaron here from the Living in Virginia Beach YouTube channel. And if you're someone that's looking to, what is it like to live here? If you're moving here, or maybe you're local and you just want to hang out and check out some of these videos and validate if I'm right in these videos, then make sure to click the subscribe button, also the notification bell right next to that, so that you get notified every time we upload a new video about Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads in general, Hampton, Newport News, stuff like. There's a ton of content that we're going to be creating, so make sure to stay up to date. And if you are someone that's like, hey, I need some help moving to the area, Aaron, can you help me? Yes, 100%. We help people on a weekly, monthly basis relocate here to the area. All my information will be down in the description of this video, as well as popping up on screen. Hopefully my editor can take care of that. All right, cool. Let's jump into the pros and cons. We got 5 and 5 pros, 5 cons. First one on the pro list is the fact that we have all 4 seasons. Now, I think this is really cool for me. My dad was in the military for 25, 30 years, and we moved around a lot, obviously, which is we find a lot, with people that are moving here too, going to that are stationed in Norfolk or Little Creek or anything like that. What I found is, living in these other areas, lived in Texas, right? We only had 2 seasons. It was hot or it was like semi kind of cold. But here, living here for the past 15 years, it's, having those 4 seasons is actually really cool. So winter, we'll start there because that's like kind of the weirdest season, I'd say, here in Virginia Beach. And the reason I say that is, you would expect it to maybe be a little bit colder than it actually is. And I mean, we probably, rare occasions, will get anything lower than like 30 degrees. Obviously, like in the middle of the night, in the middle of winter, it could get into like 20 degrees, but unless you're like out and about and you're hanging out at 3 in the morning outside, you don't really have to worry about the cold too much. One thing that I would definitely keep in mind though is the fact that we literally have no idea how to drive or act in snow. A couple years back, there was this thing called, if you just search up like Google Snowmageddon Virginia Beach, and you'll see like literally people are boarding up their doors, they're not going to work, school got canceled for a week, literally for I think half a foot of snow. That's an exaggeration. Maybe it was a little bit more than that, maybe a foot of snow. But you got people up in Boston and places in Canada and New York, it snows 15 feet and they're just like, yeah, still walking to work. It could be this much. Like, just zoom in here so you can see how much this is. If it snows this much, be careful. So that's enough about winter. Then of course we have spring. Spring is probably one of my favorite seasons outside of like with Virginia Beach. Maybe this is the same other places, but we don't really, like, the weather doesn't know. Mother Nature is like, okay, it's like winter and then it's like summer and then it's spring and then it's summer again and then it's winter. So it's like, it goes back and forth in the weird like transition periods where it can be super cold and then super hot the next day, really windy, rainy, which to be honest, it's kind of how the weather is. Just in general here, it's kind of all over the place, but you get the point. Spring, it's not as cold as winter, but it's just that transition between like, it's almost hot and it's almost not hot, cold from the winter time. Then of course we have summer. Obviously it's hot, right? Summertime in most places is hot, but it's a different kind of hot. It is a very muggy, humid, sticky, go out and stand in the sun for 3 seconds and you're immediately drenched in sweat. I know that's probably TMI for one of the first videos you might be seeing of me, but I gotta be honest with you guys, it gets really muggy. It could be, the outside temperature could say, on your watch or on your phone could say like 90, but it really feels like 120. Like there was a point, I'll try to find an old picture. I cooked cookies in my car, like, put them on a baking sheet, put them on my windshield, the magnification. I'm not gonna get scientific here, but yeah, it was that hot, and just something to keep in mind. If you're someone like me that has really thick hair, it's gonna get frizzy. It's gonna get frizzy very quickly. I just realized we're talking a lot about seasons, and this is just pro number 1. So hopefully you're enjoying this video so far. But the last season is fall. Fall I love because someone that has lived in Texas for a long time and lived in California, all those places didn't really have like a lot of the trees and really gives you the opportunity to enjoy fall, right? Is it gets a little bit, you get the pumpkin spice lattes and it's orange and red and yellow outside from all the trees, and it's honestly a really, really cool feeling. Our family's favorite time of the year is in the fall because you have like that crisp air that isn't, you know, spring and super humid, but it's just nice. So jumping into pro number 2 is going to be the beach scene. Now, this is to be expected. You know, Virginia Beach is one of the most visited to places on the East Coast when it comes to, you know, beach towns outside of like Atlantic City and Myrtle Beach. I personally think that Virginia Beach is the best out of all of those. Not as like saturated as some of those places, but it's, you know, the beach scene is much more than just the beach, right? Of course you have, you know, the beach itself, the sand, swimming, surfing, all that kind of stuff, but it's done in a way where we have, you know, we have 3 different streets. We have Atlantic, we have Pacific Avenue, where you can drive through. One of them is a little bit more congested with cars, and then we also have Atlantic Avenue, where a lot of the magic happens, we'll say. There's a summer thing that they do called Live on Atlantic, and, you know, every main street from like 5th Street about up to, I'd say, about 20th Street, 20th, 30th Street is, you know, there's different street acts, right? So actually, I'm gonna be going out there later on today, actually with a family, to, you know, go check out some of the acts and things like that. So make sure, I'll leave a link down in the description below to our private Facebook group. It's called Living in Hampton Roads, and we do a lot of community events and really just updates of what it's like to live here. A little bit more of a community feel as opposed to here on YouTube. It's kind of just like, hey, you watch the videos, you get some information, and you're gone. That'll be a really good resource for you guys to check out, you know, what is happening in the local community and kind of connect there. So I'll leave that down in the description to check out. But, you know, the beach scene is just great, right? Because, you know, during the summertime, especially now after, you know, a lot of the COVID restrictions were lifted, is people are out and about, right? People want to be out there. It was actually eerily scary in the off season how, you know, I made a video a couple months back about, you know, driving through and there was nobody out, but it's just a huge difference from then and how many people are out there now. So there's juggling, there's music acts, there's, you know, poets, there's magicians, there's just so many different things. Like what is the puppet, what is the puppets called? Is professional puppets called? Ventriloquist, there we go. I was never gonna come up with that. So ventriloquists out hanging out in, you know, near the beach, and it's just a really cool vibe, right? Seeing a bunch of people out and about and really hanging out. Like there's outdoor bars, there's rooftop bars, there's so many different experiences to be had at the beach, right? So that's pro number 2. Jumping into pro number 3 is the different types of lifestyles in this area. So I'm actually gonna jump over to my computer, do a little screen share so you guys can see, and I can almost like narrate like the different things to expect when you're in the area. All right, guys, so jumping over here on the computer section, we're gonna dive through the different types of lifestyles that you can expect. So again, so many different types of lifestyles within like a 20 to 25 minute drive. So let's start over here on the beach side. Of course, we have Virginia Beach, which is the beach living. We have the ocean front, lots of lots of condo living, apartments, and mostly hotels like directly on the ocean front itself. But there are some little like condos and things that are tucked away in those specific areas. As you go a little bit more inland, of course, there's like homes in these areas, and we'll do some like complete breakdowns of neighborhoods down here specifically. But that's really the main piece, is like the oceanfront living. You have kind of the same thing over here near the bay, which is, you know, it's not technically the beach, but it's the bay, or I'm sorry, not the ocean, but the bay. But you still have homes, you know, sprinkled in around this entire coast right over here. Then we have waterfront, which is, you know, obviously not the ocean front, but waterfront, because we have the lake, or, you know, the broad bay up in here. And then everywhere sprinkled around these, you know, on the coast are just different homes. Now, of course, higher price point. Actually, Pharrell Williams lives, where does he live? He lives like up in this like little pocket up here. But yeah, just different homes on there. So we have the waterfront stuff. Then as you start to come down here a little bit, suburban, literally everywhere in here for the most part, right? Suburban areas. Our downtown area, which isn't really a downtown, is right tucked up in here. So this is the downtown area. So town center is what it's called. And my actually office space is right tucked up in here, but it's pretty much just this. We have the mall and then some like high rise kind of buildings, which are like the highest buildings are hotels, which is interesting. But they're tucked right in here. So if you're looking for downtown living, not really gonna find too much of that here. And then again, down here is more the suburban living. So pretty much all tucked in there. Down here we have Sandbridge, which is kind of disconnected from the rest of Virginia Beach. You do have to take so this is Dam Neck. There's a road all the way down here through Sandbridge. You take this one all the way into, to get into Sandbridge, really the only way that you can get in there. Very much so tucked away, kind of like its own area, if you will. So again, Sandbridge, and then a lot of second homes, vacation living, things like that. And And then you get a little bit more rural. I can never say that word right. A little more rural as you go down down in here. A lot more acreage, farmland, things like that as you start to go a little bit more down here. And then we have the North Carolina, Virginia Beach border as we come down here. So a bunch of different types of living, really anywhere from suburban, rural, city, kind of. And then waterfront, oceanfront, things like that. And now that actually brings us to the next pro, which is this on a little bit more of a grander scale. So you are super close to, well, relatively close to a bunch of different places to visit. If you, let's say you wanted to go through to up here, near Washington, D.C. So we are about, I'd say about 3 hours-ish, 3 to 4 hours, depending on the traffic, close to Washington. There's a couple places that the family and I love to come up here, Great Falls, Burke Lake Park, here like in the Fairfax, Arlington area. And it's a really nice place to get away. In Virginia Beach, we don't have a ton of like hills and like actual hiking. There is hiking that you can do in, right here up in like First Landing State Park, but it's all just flat. It's kind of just trails that you can go through. So up there you get a little bit more of the actual hiking trails. But if you want to get some actual hiking in, then you'd head up here towards the Shenandoah National Park. Over here, there's a couple, if I can find it, Snowshoe is a snow resort, as well as even further up here. I probably can't find it just by searching it, but we have Snowshoe. And then we also have a Massanutten, which is another place. I think there's, what is up here? JMU, I'm pretty sure, college. If you really want to get some hiking in, that's going to be the place to go. Only probably about 4 hours up in, well, northwest. There we go. I'm not good at my directions. Then you have Richmond, a little bit more of a, not a ton of, like, there's museums and things like that. Haven't been to Richmond, to be honest, recently, but Richmond's up there. And then if you want to get really crazy, you can take the 6 hour drive up this little highway over here to New York City. So little quick tip hack is, if you're looking to get up to New York, do not take this highway, because you're gonna go through Richmond, you're gonna go through Washington, you're gonna go through Philly. It's gonna take you a ton of time, probably about 9 to 10 hours, as opposed to if you take this little road right up here. It's going to bring you directly to New York. You can get there in like 6.5, 7 hours if you don't stop to go to the bathroom, and just something to keep in mind. So you just go through all this area. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's the second pro. Is there's a lot of different things that you can do. You can go south as well. Go to Raleigh. Come down here to, where is it? Myrtle Beach and Nags Head, right in this area is the Outer Banks. If you've seen the Netflix show, that's kind of what it's based off of. I've heard that it's not actually like in the Outer Banks though, so don't take what the show is like to this, because it's not in the same area. But this is like a really nice like getaway, about 2.5 hours from Virginia Beach, and you can get down there. So a bunch of different places within driving distance that you can take, kind of like a day trip. You can go there, come back, all within the same day, and and do that. So hopefully that gives you some insights of how close some of these things are. So jumping into pro number 5 is the fact that we were rated or voted one of the best places to live in the United States. And I honestly have to agree with that. There's no other reason why I've lived here for the past 15 years. And, really a lot of the things that we already talked about is kind of a contribution to that. So just something to think about is, I can sit here all day long and say, yeah, this is the best place to live and you should move here and blah, blah, blah. But the fact that it was kind of on the, the best places to live list, I think that's a little bit of credibility. So obviously the stuff that we talked about, and I think just honestly just the type of people that live in this area. Like, I can't really remember a time that I went out and about and like, outside of, we'll say, traffic and things like that, which we'll get to in a second, just not really anything that I can complain about. Now there is the off times, whatever, the averages of the amount of time that I've spent in the area, but it's just overall good vibe. I was talking to my wife about this the other day, and it's just like being in a spot where we can just like look up and take a breath and say, hey, like there's just so much positive vibes around here is kind of the best way that I can explain it. So that's pro number 5, one of the best places, not from me, obviously I'll say that, but ranked by other people saying that this is one of the best places to live in the US. All right, so the moment you've all been waiting for, the negatives, the cons, the bad, the ugly of living here in the area. For whatever reason, people just love the drama and the negative stuff. So let's go through these next 5 things. Number 1, or con number 1, is the fact that we don't really have in Virginia Beach a downtown area. Now, if you're someone that's from any major city, Dallas, Houston, New York, LA, Atlanta, like any places in Florida, like Miami, is we don't have a downtown area. Now I'll put some like drone shots up on screen of, town center is what we called it. Really, there's only like 5 big buildings, you can say, is you can pretty much get around, like if you wanted to like walk or like skateboard or bike around the entire downtown, it would literally take you like 4 minutes. It's not big at all. There's a couple like restaurants and shopping areas. Actually, the co-working spot that I have that I'm filming this video in is in downtown town center called Gather, which is, we'll probably make another video on that because a really great community here, a lot of offices, really gives you the opportunity to work in kind of like this downtown environment. I have never really lived in a big downtown area, so I'm pretty used to not having a downtown. So if you're someone that is like, I love the downtown feel, I really want to be able to live in an area that has that downtown kind of like rush hour feel, then probably not the best place. The closest area that you might get a little bit more downtown is in Norfolk, about 30 miles from here. We'll create a whole other video around that, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so you get updated when we create some of those videos. But yeah, it's even that is not it's more downtown than here, but not anything really compared to a major downtown city. So jumping into con number 2 is one that we've talked about before, and that is the jet noise. Now, jet noise is something that I don't want this to come off as like, I don't like jet noise or anything like that, but there's a lot of times when people move to the area, it's just really something that you want to keep in mind. When I say jet noise, in Virginia Beach is pretty much local to it's a military base, right? It's NAS Oceana, and there's planes that fly around Virginia Beach. Now, one notable part of that as well is not only are they loud in specific areas, and we'll throw up some graphs and stuff of what you guys can look at in terms of like the noise, like the actual volume of the noise, but there's some places that are also in crash zones. Now, that might sound really interesting and kind of scary at the same time, but there are some places around Virginia Beach where, let's say, one of the planes was to go down, God forbid, is there zones specifically where they are meant to crash. So that sounds a little bit weird again, but just something to keep in mind. It's jet noise is one of those things where it's very loud, especially for for tourists and for people that aren't really used to it. But again, I've lived here for 15 years, and I almost forget that they fly over. Like sometimes I'll have people come in from out of state and to visit or whatever, and we'll be out and about, and then they'll say, oh, like I can't hear you. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. The jets fly around. So there's actually a really cool spot off of Oceana. What road is that? I'll show you guys. I'll put it up on a map. But there's a spot where you can actually sit and watch the planes come through. Maybe we'll have to make another video on that specifically. But jet noise is just something to keep in mind. Not necessarily a con, just something that talking to people that aren't local to the area, they kind of look at it as a con. But it's commercialized to the point where there's people that sell T-shirts and bumper stickers and things like that that say I love jet noise. It's just become a thing in the local area. So one thing, not necessarily a con, but just something to look forward to when you are looking to buy a house and making sure you're not in like the major areas of jet noise and where it could be the loudest. Now, jumping into con number 3 is the lack of public transportation. So I'll honestly say, I'll put it out there. Public transportation here is kind of a joke, to be honest with you. We do have like a bus system, and there are bus stops all over the place. But from what I've seen and from kind of research that I've done for this video specifically, is if you move to the area, you're definitely going to want to have a car of some sort, or a budget, understanding that Uber and Lyft are probably going to be a big source of transportation. And because there are traffic, or not only traffic, but construction places a lot around the Virginia Beach area. Sidewalks aren't super prevalent. They are getting a little bit better at creating sidewalks that are better for biking and people that walk. But it's, having a car will definitely help out a lot in terms of your transportation. In terms of a tram system, we don't have anything like that. Tram, train here in the area. There is one a little bit more further, not north, but I guess northwest, for Norfolk. But just overall, public transportation is kind of non-existent, to be honest with you, in this local area. So just something to think about if you are someone that does rely heavily, on public transportation, trains, trams, bus systems, things like that. Not really something that I would look at as a possible means. You could probably get around it, but just have that expectation that it's going to be a little bit more difficult if you're used to, somewhere that does have their public transportation on lock. Now this goes directly into con number 4, and that is the construction. Now, construction is something where, it is getting better, and there's a couple different construction projects. One a little bit more towards the Hilltop area. It's kind of where I live, and then up near like Lansdowne area. They've been working on these things for years. Like I feel like 7 years. I've always gone through these places, and they're just never done with the stuff. And then when they do finish those places, they're like, all right, cool, 2 blocks down the road, let's like completely tear up the road and start there now. So it's something that's always continuously going. It's something where obviously you need the change, but because the roads aren't really set up to accommodate for those construction patterns, it just disrupts the natural flow of traffic when they do these construction things. So just keep that in mind if you are going to an area, when you are, let's say you do live here, you're looking to move here. If you're going to specific areas you have to commute, or I'd allocate an extra couple of minutes and really download like some of these apps like Waze, or even like the different traffic apps that you can get out there. Have those downloaded so you can make sure that you keep up to date with what's happening with the traffic, and also allocate for some of the time that you might lose if you're on a little bit of a schedule. So keep that in mind. All right, guys, last but not least, con number 5 when it comes to living here in the Virginia Beach area is going to be tourist season. Now, this is something that is very, as long as you kind of know how to navigate it, it's not that terrible. Anywhere from about April time to about October, maybe even a little bit later than that, because Neptune Festival does go a little bit later into the year. Just expect anytime you're going to the oceanfront, there's gonna be traffic, there's gonna be no parking spots, and the beaches are gonna be packed. Now, we're gonna create some other videos about some secret, spots where you can go ahead and go more like the local beaches, if you will. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to get notified when we upload those types of videos. But yeah, just understand anywhere towards the oceanfront or even somewhat close to it, there's gonna be a lot of people, right? There's a lot of festivals throughout the summer. There's a lot of, obviously there's tons of hotels down there and things like that. A little bit more inland, the hotels do get cheaper. So obviously all those people are gonna want to then drive to the oceanfront. So just keep those things in mind. With parking as well, something to, I personally wouldn't try to park in the middle of summer down at the oceanfront. I'd say best thing is like maybe either Uber down to the oceanfront or maybe take a bike or something along those lines, so that when you do get there, you don't have to worry about parking. There's meters, there is public parking, but a lot of times like in the summertime when everyone's already down there, either number 1, it's gonna be you driving around for an hour trying to find parking, or number 2, you're gonna pay $40 to park for an hour. So just definitely something to keep in mind when you do go down there. What we like to do is we actually have a secret parking spot that we get to. Maybe, nah, I can't give that away on this video because then everyone's gonna go park there. But there are some places that are like 1 to 2 streets up from the beach that are like you can park there and not get towed or get ticketed or anything like that. So when you do move to the area, maybe you have to shoot me a message and I'll I'll be sure to give you some of these secret spots when it comes to parking and things like that. So guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Now, a little bit longer than I wanted it to, but I do want to give you guys literally everything that you need to know before you do move here to the area. So if you are someone that's brand new to the channel, I know I've said it multiple times throughout this video, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you get notified every single time we upload brand new videos about what it's like to live here, and even some of the secret spots, right? Some of the secret beaches, the parking spots we talked about. We're gonna go really in depth into other neighborhoods and cost of living and everything across the board. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, if you are someone that is, again, looking to move or relocate to the area, if you have any questions, people reach out to us all the time here on YouTube, like asking, hey, can you help us move to the area? We have a team in place, a real estate team that can definitely help do that if you are looking to move to the area. So with that being said, guys, Aaron here from the Living in Virginia Beach YouTube channel. If you have any questions, let us know. All right, hold on, guys. Aaron here popping in. We were just ending the video and you might not even be watching anymore, but just to make sure, we wanted to invite you one more time over to our free Facebook group. The link will be down in the description below here on this video, and it just gives you more of an everyday experience, well, every other day experience of what it's like to live here. I'm super active in the community, with the family and out and about and things like that. So, getting updates for community events, things like that, and, just really overall, what is it like to live on a day-to-day basis here in the Virginia Beach area, and just bringing you guys through that. So anything else you guys need, let us know. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.